What's up, everybody? We're back with another new episode of the Last Wave podcast. We dive into topics like ghosts, UFOs, cryptids, nerd stuff, and conspiracies. As always, thanks for listening. It means a whole lot to us. Check out our Facebook page as well as our Twitter and Patreon.com. Patreon is a subscription service that helps content creators like myself. It's very cheap, like $1 a month. The more you pay, the more cool stuff you get, like extra content, extra videos, all that good stuff. And we're always putting cool stuff onto our social media accounts. So again, pop over there. Always posting pictures, articles, whatever I find throughout research, and then I try to post as many pictures as I can that I mentioned in the episodes. Um, so again, check that out. It's always a good resource. And as always, thanks for listening. Today we're going to continue the Hidden World series. I know the thumbnail doesn't say that, but that's because there was already too much on the thumbnail, so I didn't want to add this. But I'm going to toss this in there into that little realm, if you will. So today we're going over reports of cloaked or invisible Bigfoots or other humanoids in the forest. So this is something that I found throughout my various research sessions, and it's actually reports of cloaked or, again, hidden Bigfoot, as in people would see what they would describe as a predator-like figure from the movies, that kind of silhouette that's nearly invisible. You can see the other side, but you can also see its movements. You can definitely tell that something is there, but it's as if the Bigfoot type entity possesses some advanced stealth technology. Now, the idea and theory behind that is just sounds so interesting to me. And these Bigfoot type beings, these big ape like beings, and to think that they're using invisible stealth tech is just really cool to me. But Bigfoot always seems to disappear so quickly after being spotted, and most people would surmise that this is because Bigfoot, it isn't real. But what if the creature is real and it just activates this cloaking field? And again, I know it sounds absurd it sounds more absurd when I said it than when I read it. But there have been some photos that surfaced over the last few years showing possible evidence of it, actually. And I did post these ahead of time. I posted one already on our Twitter. I don't know if I did on Facebook, but I'm sure I did. But if I didn't, then I will repost it. One from an article I found in 2015 shows a deer on a trail cam. The deer's head actually vanishes behind some kind of eerie distortion. Again, I'll post a pic if I haven't already. But some researchers and some people online put forth that a Bigfoot entered the frame while cloaked. And I will say that it's 100% an interesting picture. You see basically the shoulders and forelegs of a deer, and you see the outline of its head, but it's invisible. So it's really quite a strange distortion. There's also a video I saw years ago, and I did find it, and I will try to post that as well again if I haven't already by this time. It was super, super interesting, and it was before I knew about any of this. It was just something that kind of popped up on my radar. And the people in the video, they're out and about looking for alleged Bigfoot in the area, and they claim to see one in real life. The person holding the camera goes, "Hey, what's that?" They claim to see a black, hairy humanoid figure off ahead of them in the woods. But on the actual footage, you see a translucent figure moving through the underbrush. It looks like a predator. That's what it looks like from the movie. Just that translucent, being just moving through the trees. It's a really, really quick segment, but you can definitely see that there's something there. So again, super, super strange. I will post that if I haven't already, just so everybody can see it. And it's a rather long video, and the whole event takes maybe a minute of the video, but it's definitely worth seeing. I did find a very interesting and intriguing photo on an article for burlingtonnews.net, of all random name websites, by this person who seems to be a fan and researcher of ancient arts and mysteries and that sort of thing. She speaks about the cloaking Bigfoot and has a photo of her and a man sitting in a sacred circle, she called it, where they allegedly invited the Bigfoot to join them. And in the photo, you can clearly make out two humanoid mist-like figures. I mean, they're clear as day. They're definitely a mist-like. I mean, they're not the predator-like figure, but it does look like two, I guess you would say ghost-like figures. I definitely don't think I posted that one, but I will. That one's a really, really cool photo. Um, the person also notes a random connection to Egypt, Rosicrucians, Freemasons, and magic, stating that a lot of these occult groups who have unlocked the ability through different means to become invisible, and they practice this through spells and whatnot and rituals, mention that it is like covering oneself with a cloud or mist. So again, that's a random little tidbit, and the whole website or the whole article page was very, very confusing. But that was definitely an interesting little tidbit that I dug up there. There's also a few accounts I have read that these beings are not really Bigfoot, but their own entity entirely. Whether they are or not, I have seen the term glimmer or shimmer used to describe the cloaking that is used, and that's kind of why I added it to the Hidden World series. If you've seen or heard any of those episodes, I talk about what's called glamour, and the term glamour is what's used as an illusion magic by the Fey folk and things of that nature. You know, things in the hidden world. It's basically an illusion in fairy folklore to make something look like something else, or to make it disappear completely. This is thought by some fairy researchers to be used to prevent us from seeing their realms, or at least entrances to their hidden world. So this basically states that they use this glamour magic to fool us into not seeing their area, their cities, that type of thing. So I mean, it could be all tied in. You know, all these mystical figures that we randomly see. Again, if you've paid any attention to my channel for any amount of time, you know I believe there's a connection to all this underlying stuff. One suggestion I did find in an article by Nick Redfern, who he's a noted paranormal researcher, has a lot of really good articles, a lot of good information around the internet that he has provided to different places. Was that these Bigfoot can raise their vibrational energy of their bodies to a point where they become invisible to our spectrum. Now, again, that sounds just about as absurd as a Bigfoot with a stealth technology belt or something. He just hits a button, and he's like, shoop, he's gone. So that sounds just about as absurd. But, however, this is interesting theory because scientifically, at the base of it, we are all atoms and molecules and particles at our lowest parts. And everything else in the world is that as well. So a table, a wall. So technically, if you can vibrate at a certain rate or level, vibrational level, whatever, what have you, then technically you should be able to blend your molecules and your atoms with similar items on that wavelength, aka walking through walls. So again, absolutely bananas theory, but it had to be added. I had to have. Once I read that, I was like, we got to put that in there. You also see in in the world of sea life. So as far as a real life, addition to it, some creatures can mimic their surroundings nearly perfectly, such as octopus and that type of thing. And a few smaller creatures that can actually turn transparent. There are fish that are see-through. So it is a massive a massive leap to a Bigfoot or humanoid or ape-like form. But it is scientific proof that it does happen in the animal kingdom. So there is that. At least we can say that it does happen. It is out there. And all right, so an absolutely crazy side note on this episode: Season 1, Episode 7 of Stargate SG-1. And I only know this because I just started watching the show recently. There's an episode where the crew investigates a forest world where a creature that uses stealth technology resides. Well, it's not stealth tech. They don't know what it is at first. They're basically sent in because, of course, their army overlord generals want stealth technology. So they're like, bring us something important instead of just talking to other humans. Bring us whatever this is. So they send in the team to hopefully figure out what is going on and how to use it. Well, it turns out, spoiler alert for a 12 or 15-year-old show, that a race of ancient beings were actually using the stealth technology to hide the creature from hunters. They used this technology to hide their own advanced megacity as well, while seemingly living in forest huts and just living off the earth. These beings were actually very advanced, so that is a really strangely similar scenario. I mean, like, possibly dead on accurate. But maybe the hidden world of fairy lore has something to do with it. They're cloaking these entities for their protection, kind of like we would do with a what's the word? Endangered Species Act. Just a really weird form of that. So I'd say that's while we're on the limb of absurd theories, that's definitely a possible one. This is actually noted throughout history as well. The ability of these beings, fairies, gnomes, etc., to hide themselves from our view. However, sometimes we stray beyond the veil, so to speak, and we can see them. So I surmise that maybe when these encounters happen, that's what's going on. We just happen to get a glimpse of something we're not supposed to be able to see, and that is just what's happening. And then for an instant, once they realize what's going on, boom, they go back to their normal state. Another encounter I actually found with these beings sounded like it was straight out of the Predator movies. This one had two witnesses spanning a really good number of years. One from 2017, and this was the son. It was a son and father. This is the son. So basically, the son gives a lengthy report. It's just a random article I found on a website of seeing a 5 to 6 foot tall being crouched on a tree branch, translucent, and remaining as still as possible until the man and his friend that he was with, who were hunting in the wilderness, moved to a new location. They noticed the being, and it eventually jumped down and followed them between trees and underbrush, sneaking behind them as they moved. The men decided they'd had enough, and they were freaked out, so they trekked the couple miles out of the hunting area as fast as they could. They made it back to their home and reported that they noticed the beast or the being followed them as they went. So it kind of tracked them for at least a couple miles. And the man actually says he only told his wife, but his mother had noticed how shaken he was and spoke to his father. So his father then approached him, and apparently his mother, knowing what the father saw, sent the father to talk to him. And allegedly, the father states in 1975, so this is from 2017 and 1975, he states that he and a cousin of his were hunting in the same area. And this is a massive area. I can't remember how many, but it was multiple thousands of acres as far as a hunting area. They spotted what he described as a 6 foot tall, man-shaped pile of Reynolds wrap, the clear stuff you cover food with. That's an actual quote. The being, upon seeing that it had been noticed, moved off into the woods and into the underbrush. And they actually called it the Phantom, which I thought was it's a pretty cool name. I mean, it's whatever. They need to be given, I guess, a cool nickname. I mean, it is a pretty crazy creature. I don't know what I would do if I saw it. There are multiple other sightings of these beings. Some use the same terms, as well as terms like seeing a heat wave. If you look at the top of your car from inside at a certain angle in the really hot day sun, then you'll see these little energy waves coming off of it. I saw that term used, a heat wave in human form, shapeshifter, light form, etc. The sightings take place in many different areas, but always in the wilderness, from what I can tell. Ironically, not to reference the predator again, but some of the reports I've found mention the beast making a faint clicking noise. So best believe if I ever hear a clicking noise in the woods, I may just go ahead and pass out. That's probably going to be the end of me. I don't really want to have to deal with the predator. Another little, and I just want to toss this in there. as another one that I read a couple years ago. I don't remember much information, but again, this is before I even researched or knew anything about these possibly being Bigfoot. It was probably on a podcast or some scary show or something. But I do remember vividly this couple was driving and they happened to see, it was at nighttime. I don't remember what they were doing, but they happened to see off in the distance um, a figure like this, and they described it as 6 to 7 feet tall, translucent. They described it exactly as that, just like the Predator, and it moved towards their car. And they sat there for a moment watching it, but once they noticed it began to pick up speed and again approaching the car, they decided to get out of there. So while you don't hear a lot of these, you don't see that in Bigfoot, honestly, either. Stories of it being aggressive. So that kind of lends me, I mean, this thing just doesn't want to be seen. From the best I can tell, from everything that I read, it just doesn't want to be seen or known of. And, you can't really blame it. If we actually saw these things all around us all the time, then of course the army would want, to know what it is. They would want to dissect it, etc. So whatever, if it's aliens, fairies, what have you, if it's the being itself cloaking itself, there's a reason. It's That's my opinion. There's definitely a reason. It could be just a Bigfoot, and they could have very advanced technology. Could be fairies, could be aliens. Honestly, I have no earthly idea. Um, I like the theory of it being part of the hidden world and the fairy folklore because we already see throughout history, again, terms like glamour and illusions and changelings, and we know that they can affect our reality, and they have throughout history, all the way back to the fairies and the elves, and I mean, all the way back to that history. So even if you tie it into another, the shadow people or the jinn, they're known as shapeshifters. So all of these entities and these beings seem to have this reality bending type of ability that we just can't figure out. So anyway, no one seems to have a really definitive answer as to what these are, whether they're Bigfoot or not. Again, no one really knows. They're just these random reports of these cloaked beings. But that's all the information I have on them right now. I have put aside the idea of doing episodes and then doing like extra updates. I don't really know what to call it. Maybe the final wave or something like that. And just, if I come across any more research, doing shorter episodes. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm playing around too much with this podcast. And again, I hope everyone's enjoying the simpler look to it. The regular thumbnails, no random crazy pictures. Again, I just thought it was looking a little too haywire, a little too crazy. But again, as always, thanks for listening. That's all I've got for you today. Catch us on the next episode. Thanks for listening.